Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today we'll be doing a review of Samurai 2 Duel at the Ichijoji Temple. Before going any further into this review, though, please be sure to smash that like button, light up that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey. It really does mean a lot. And also, please be sure to hit that subscribe and follow me over at ombreviews.com for more information. So this is the second film in the Samurai Trilogy. I've already reviewed the first one, and my thoughts on that first one were that it was a mostly solid movie with, of course, a great performance by Toshiro Mifune and some pretty good direction by Hiroshi Inagaki. It took me a while, but anyway, that I really did appreciate his direction as well. But one of the things that I've been having an issue with since the first movie has been the writing, and a lot of that comes from the fact that I've just come off a very long string of Akira Kurosawa films all in a row. And one of the things that all of those films have in common are not just that they're all incredibly well made, but also the writing is on par with all of those other levels, directing, acting, etc. Whereas with this one, I really still feel like the writing is what is the most lacking. And I will say that Duel at Ichijoji Temple continues in that issue. And that is my primary issue with this movie, because essentially, the issues that I had with the first movie, which was the focus on the romance subplots, the women falling in love, is even more stressed in this movie, to the point where, as you see on that poster, there are 3 women there because all 3 of them are madly in love with the character played by Toshiro Mifune, which, okay, I can understand. He's a pretty awesome dude. He is very skilled with a sword. He starts off being a very emotional person in the first movie, and by the second movie, he's starting to learn what it means to really be a samurai. There are certain things that he knows that he has to work on, that he's being told by other masters that he needs to work on as well. And the second film focuses on how he needs to learn to not be as ruthless with the sword as he has been so far as in his career as a samurai, and that all leads up to the duel at the Ichijoji Temple, when he finally is able to show that he has mastered that, to not be completely ruthless, and also to be able to show some sense of kindness in his work, and that a samurai is not just meant to be a ruthless killer, meant to shed blood with the sword, but is meant to stand for honor and dignity and things like that. So all of those elements, I think, are fantastic. However, several times along the way, there is this huge focus put onto these relationships. As we talked about beforehand, and going into this this movie, you have one of the women who is in love with him, who literally waits 3 years for him as he's training to be a samurai, and then he just goes, nope, too bad. I care more about the way of the sword than about you, who's been waiting for me for 3 years. And obviously that was a little hard to really find the character likable, because you could understand it, but then also so much time was spent on that relationship that you were like, okay, I thought that might go somewhere. Now just add on top of that, now there were 2 women in the first film, now there's 3, because an additional woman, an older woman, is now added on to that as well, falling madly in love with him, throwing herself essentially at him, trying to say, you can't be a true samurai unless you sleep with me, essentially. And obviously that, having been a focal point, just really bothered me. Now, in the lower left-hand corner, there is a really cool character that does get some attention in this one. I'm trying to think about the character's name, because I'm currently at a loss. But anyway, the character played by Toshiro Mifune is that of Musashi, who is great. I think it is Kojiro. Yeah, so Kojiro Sasaki is the other swordsman pictured there in the lower left-hand corner of the poster. And he's another amazing, skilled artist who is not nearly as serious as Toshiro Mifune's Musashi character instead. And so you start to see that dynamic play out, where both of them are on these different paths. Both of them want to be basically the greatest, but they're going about them in different ways, where Toshiro Mifune is starting to control, restrict, hold back, whereas the other, as with the other character, is actually more so focused on trying to, have everything, essentially, trying to have his cake and eat it too, as it were. And I thought that was kind of interesting to see that dynamic between them. But as I said, the women storylines, again, the women being in love, madly in love, obsessed with him storyline just gets really old really quickly. And the story, for the most part, though otherwise is fine, the dialogue, especially in those sequences, is just really poor. I mean, the emotions are all over the place. You have them saying, I'm in love with you, I'm in love with you, because the end of this movie leads to this very climactic moment when he's finally with the woman who had been waiting for him for 3 years. He's finally going to seemingly give in to that relationship, and then he tries to essentially kiss her, make love with her, or whatever, and she says no. And I was like, wait a minute. The whole last movie was about you waiting 3 years and then him turning away from you, and that being kind of like, wow, that's ridiculous. And now that you have him, it's like, no, I don't want you. And then it ends with her chasing him again. So all of those, again, relationship, love story subplots are just really poorly done and really distracting, and it's really central in this movie. I'm about halfway through the third movie right now, and I can thankfully say that even though those plots are still there, it's not nearly as much as in this movie. So this movie I actually like a lot less than the first one, because even though there's some really cool stuff, the final duel's awesome, and I can really honestly see, especially over the course of these movies, where video games in the modern era got a lot of inspiration from. I really think about Ghost of Tsushima as being a great example of some inspirational things there. I really also, when I see the movie and I see some of the visuals that are presented here by Hiroshi Inagaki, I think that a lot of the inspiration for those games and any other samurai films that have happened since this time were probably inspired in some way by this one, because there are just so many really awesome things in here, which is why this series of films has gotten so much love and attention, and has survived as long as it has, and has been seen as much watch and must watch. And I agree to it. I agree with that to an extent, but the extent really does end with these relationships, which are just a bit too much for me. So in the end, I think Toshiro Mifune does a great job. Again, we do have a continuation of his story, and it reaches a logical conclusion at this second middle part, kind of like the two towers, as it were, of the Samurai Trilogy. And I do like where it ended and where it led into with the third film that I just started. But the love stories were really on play here, and they just weren't very well done. And so I'm going to give this film a B-. So I gave the first film a solid B, because I thought that there was a lot of good stuff there. This one is still in the B range for me. I think it's still a very interesting story, and I think honestly Toshiro Mifune is the one who really carries this by showing this change that he's gone through, right, from being purely emotion driven to now being a bit more stoic and a bit more in control, and it's been really cool to see that journey happen. But anyway, what are your thoughts about this film? Am I off base with this? I don't know. I just didn't feel as distracted by subplots in other films that I've watched as I have been with this series. And the second film especially just, I think, way overdoes it. I mean, when the third woman was throwing herself at him, I was just like, okay, I get it. He's awesome. But, I mean, you're already getting weighed down with the other two women who... Anyway, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, light up that fire button. It really does mean a lot. You're all amazing and beautiful people. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my June Patreon and Subscribestar members: Andrew Hoyle, Biffer the Hobbit, Brian P., Dion, Don Bruno de la Mancha, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toon, Jonathan Carney, Laura the Modern Major General's Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, and rather Teresa Martin is Miss Martin Muses now, Tina Bojan, Tina B., and Washington Madranda. Thank y'all very much for being my supporters on Patreon. And to my Subscribestar peeps: Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, Stand For, John B., Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss / The New Number 2, J-Rod the Beer Guru, Nevanon G. Adams, and ZK Man. Thank you all very much for being my Subscribestar members, and if you want your name shouted out at the end of every video and live stream, please consider joining on Patreon or Subscribestar. You also get access at other tiers to things like a bi-monthly podcast, bi-weekly, twice a month podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger, which is a lot of fun. There's also a tier in which you can join me once a month for the Chosen of Valhalla live stream, where you all get to, at that level, join me for discussions, talk about any projects that you might be working on, or just hang out and have a good time. It's a lot of fun. And also, too, for many of those levels, you also get access to a giveaway section on the Discord server, where you get access to giveaways of things like 4K movies, digital codes, and tons of other stuff like that. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, check out the links in the description and sign up over on Patreon and Subscribestar. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.